What would you want the minimum yearly income to be for your future husband?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I said 1 billion.
Okay.
That's not trolling. I'm being dead serious.
Okay. That's your serious. That's the minimum yearly income for your future husband.
Give or take.
It's interesting how people say they're not trolling when they actually are. Andrew, what's your assessment here? Do you think she's a troll?
Now we ask the chat.
Hello?
Hang on a second, Brian. I'm sorry. I got something I'm dealing with.
All right. Okay. $1 billion and nothing less is what you wrote. The minimum yearly income to be your future husband.
That'd be pretty sweet, wouldn't it?
Okay. Is that your genuine answer, or
I mean, who knows if I get married?
do you want to get married?
Maybe, if the right guy comes along.
If he's a billionaire. I'm going to probably leave this one up to the chat. Chat, is this a kick? There's already been too much trolling tonight. This might have to be. This might have to be a.
Well, so that was your good faith answer, $1 billion a year?
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
Okay, I don't understand why I'm getting all the heat for the trolling. I'm a little bit lost. Like, you asked me a question, I gave you an answer.
I mean, in a perfect world, you should, like,
You're
not?
You're
Why
saying
not?
I
right? Like that's
Why
her
not
preference. It's not.
See, I like how you
reality.
think. I like how you think better. 2 billion.
Why
Fuck
not?
it.
Why not 5 billion?
5 billion a year. Yes.
I mean, why stop there? Why not a trillion?
I just think like it's not really fair to say that I'm trolling, right? Because then we're gonna go around later around the table. It's gonna be like, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, and if we say 10, like, oh, you're delusional. Well, you asked us a question and we're answering. So I just don't think it's really fair that you're coming at me saying that I'm trolling when I'm giving you an answer.
Well,
I came here in good faith.
Well, I mean, that's fair. How about instead of that, you just say, I just don't believe you. Right? So I just think that you're not telling the truth, that your minimum requirement is $1 billion. For instance, have you ever actually dated a billionaire?
I choose not to answer that question.
Yeah, so the answer is no. And so now we have evidence that there's a good chance that you're probably not telling us the truth, that that's your minimum.
Yeah, that has to be.
If your history, for instance, is not dating billionaires, right?
Sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, and Andrew, I'd like you to weigh in on this. The whole I choose not to answer that question. I mean, that's just totally bad faith.
Yeah, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Well, Andrew, you asked her, well, here, we can test this. Have you dated a billionaire, or the men you've dated, are they billionaires?
Answer, right?
That's like, what? That's ridiculous. Like,
all right, because it would give evidence against the position she gave.
Exactly.
That's why. It just seems kind of silly.
Well, I've been single for over 3 years, so who's to say that?
You've been celibate for over 3 years?
Have I been celibate?
Yeah. Have you been celibate?
No, I haven't been celibate.
Okay. The men that you're sleeping with, are they billionaires?
I choose not to answer that question.
What? You've already admitted to sleeping with them. What does it matter if they're billionaires or not?
Because it's none of your business.
Okay, well, that's fair. We'll just say out of all the men you've ever dated, even if one has been a billionaire, would you say the vast majority of them were not billionaires?
Again, this question is so not something that I need to answer. We can just move on. Like, you're saying that I'm trolling. You're carrying it on, and then you're like, I'm going to kick you out.
I'm just curious if the majority of the men that you have dated were billionaires, even if you had dated a billionaire.
No, majority were not.
Oh, okay. Well, then it seems to give a counter evidence to your position that the minimum requirement that you would need from a guy would be $1 billion a year. Not only does that obviously sound absurd, but then evidence from your own mouth is basically confirming the absurdity. So we're kind of left with the conclusion that you're just giving bad faith answers in order to derail and kind of be a pain in the ass.
What was the actual question on the sheet?
What would you want the minimum yearly income to be for your future husband?
What would I want?
want the minimum yearly income.
What would
to
I
be?
want?
What's with the attitude? What would you want the minimum yearly income to be for your future husband?
Because how is that trolling? What would I want? What would I want it to be?
So, I mean, there's some degree of like realisticness, you know, to the question.
And because billionaires aren't realistic in your world doesn't mean they're not realistic in my world.
I mean, why not a trillionaire? Why wouldn't you want it to be a trillion?
Because I was being realistic.
Oh, yeah, it's totally realistic.
But you can't ask me what I would want ideally and then tell me my answer is fake. Do you know what I mean? That's like not really, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, sure. You know, I'll even grant this.
Thank you.
Do you agree with me that that there's inferences with questions, like when somebody asks you a question, they might not be semantically 100% correct, but even if they're not semantically 100% correct, you can infer what the meaning of the question is. Like, for instance, if every other woman at the table answered the question the way that it was intended except you, wouldn't that also lend us even more credibility that you're probably trolling?
Well, I mean,
Right.
every woman at the table is not me, so I can't really compare myself to the other women, respectfully.
Well, how do you make comparisons then? Like, how would we ever make a comparison as to whether or not a person was delusional unless they were making a comparison with people who were not delusional?
Well, you can call me delusional. That's okay. I'll take that.
I didn't call you delusional. I asked you a
I'm
different
saying you
question.
can't. I'm saying you can. You can just you could call me delusional.
Yes, I mean, I can do all sorts of things. I can punch my monitor. I can knock my camera over. I can do all sorts of things, but that really has nothing to do with my question, which is how is it that we would ascertain if you were delusional without comparing you to other people? We couldn't. Same thing with your answer, right? We could compare how a regular person would infer the question, and then based on your answer and then the attitude behind it, whether or not you're telling the truth or trolling or things like this, that seems reasonable to me.
I mean, my answer is sure. That's my answer to your question. But I'm not comparing myself to other women at this table right now. You asked me a question about myself, and I answered the question about myself.
So just to be clear, by the way, this is yearly income. So it's not that you just want to date a billionaire. You want somebody who makes a minimum yearly income of $1 billion and nothing less. Nothing less. So for example, you wouldn't date somebody who makes $750 million a year.
Sorry, I must have missed the annual part then.
It literally says it in the question.
Sure, then I apologize. I missed that part of the question.
So what is your actual position on this then?
I would date a billionaire.
Okay, so they have to be a billionaire though.
Don't have to. I said, you asked what I want.
$1 billion and nothing less.
Right.
So they have to be a billionaire.
Sure.
I mean, the chat pretty much wants you kicked.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose I could give you one final chance. Are you going to participate in good faith?
Yeah, I've been participating in good faith. I feel like I'm being singled out here, to be honest with you.
How would it be?
Because you came at me
singling you
saying
out?
that I was trolling before the show. I came in with good energy. It was quiet as fuck in here. So I'm trying to pick up the energy, crack some jokes. Everyone was a little tense. So that's all I was doing. So if you think that's me trolling, I apologize for bringing in good energy.
The thing is, though, is the fact that you refuse to answer the question of all the men you've dated or slept with or been involved with previously, none of them are billionaires.
I said majority were not billionaires.
Right.
That was my answer. I answered your question. So now you're just
Yeah.
going back
So
on that.
when's the last time you were with a guy?
I'd choose not to answer that.
I mean, it pertains to the conversation, so.
Okay, sure. And I still don't.
But it would provide, I mean, you're refusing to answer it because it would provide counter evidence to your claim, your dubious claim here that you want the minimum yearly, or well, I'll just change it. You will only date a billionaire and nothing less. But this is clearly not true if you're sleeping with, dating men who are not billionaires, especially in recent history.
Sure, Brian.
So when's the last time you were romantically or sexually involved with a man?
That I actually don't remember. Truthfully, I'm not trolling. I'm
don't
actually not.
remember. I'm not asking for a specific date and time. You can just say, oh, it was 3 months ago.
It was probably a few months ago.
Yeah, weren't you Okay.
Wasn't I recently what?
Let's see here. Andrew, what do you think about this one from her? Would you rather cross paths with a man or a bear in the forest? To which your answer is
A bear, because I like animals.
because you like animals. Okay, that's good faith. And then you said no because you don't date, even though there seems to be some evidence that you do. And then how tall are you, and what's the minimum height of a man you would date?
What did I put there? I'm 5'6".
Yeah, what's the minimum height of a man you would date?
I don't think height really matters, to be honest.
Height doesn't matter
For me, I'm saying.
for you.
For me, yeah.
So you would date a guy who's shorter than you.
I've dated someone my height before.
You've dated them, but is that your preference?
I think I'm more of a personality person.
You're
So,
a personality person.
I would date. Okay, I know where you're going with that. I would date. You're asking specifically about height. Height doesn't matter to me.
How do you reconcile being a personality person, but you refuse to date anybody besides a billionaire?
Because you're asking me for height. Height preference.
I know, but you also said you're a personality gal. So wouldn't this extend itself to somebody's income or financial standing?
Sure. To an extent.
So how do you reconcile I only care about personality with you will only date a billionaire?
I see like you're putting words in my mouth. I never said I only date.
Yeah, sure.
based on
You said you're a
personality.
personality gal. Personality is more important than like other things like height.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not more than money.
Not more than money. Okay, I see. So perhaps no reconciliation is needed then. Okay, and then finally here,
Wait, personality to you is not more important than money? Is that what you just said? I just
We're
wanna make
saying
sure clear on that.
we're weighing things on a scale, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first
personality
thing
to
that was
you-
asked.
push yourself into frame.
Yeah, so personality to you, less important than money. I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
Yeah, it's secondary.
How did you do on that dating show anyway?
Great.
Yeah. Did you win?
There was no winner.
No, there wasn't. Did you tell the person that you were going to be dating that you cared more about his money than his personality?
No, I didn't get that far.
No. I mean, is that a legitimate answer you'd give on a dating show? Like, if the guy asked you, do you care more about my personality or my money? Would you be like, your money?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Metro Matt donated $200. You're a troll who does off. You have zero respect from anyone. Why waste your time to come on a show? Is it just to grift? Or are you really that thirsty for attention and to gotcha men?
Would you like to answer that?
Well, first, you're welcome for the donation. I mean, I really did come here in good faith. I think you guys are thinking my personality is more trolly than like I actually like. This is just me being me. So I'm not coming on here to be a troll. I've been on here 2 times already, and somehow I don't know. Today you came in with a different energy towards me. So I think that's you problem more so from the beginning. But I came here in good faith. I wouldn't travel all the way here if I wasn't coming here in good faith. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Well, I don't have any preconceived notions.
Libertarian
of anybody.
donated $200. Don't kick her, it's what she wants. The best option is to leave her there and ignore her for the rest of the show.
That is an option. What's that,
Yeah, I
Andrew?
mean, that is true. Well,
That is an
I
option.
don't have any preconceived notions. I haven't seen any of the episodes that you were on. I don't recall engaging with you. So, but it does seem like a very bad faith answer to put the minimum down for what you'd accept from a man to be $1 billion. That seems.
Well, see, again, you guys are using the wrong words, right? You're saying like it has to be. You asked me what I want.
Yeah. Why would you settle for less than what you want?
You're asking ideally what I want. I gave you an ideal answer.
So if that's what you want, you would settle for less than you want. That seems like it would be a minimum, right? It'd be like if I said I want my. If somebody asked me what's the quality you want in your wife, and I said for her to be faithful, I wouldn't settle for less than her being faithful, right? Would you, if you say, I want a man who makes $1 billion, you settle for less than what you
Well,
want?
I feel like her being, this isn't apples to oranges, because her being
Well, every
faithful is a little bit out
analogy
of
is
your,
apples to oranges.
I mean, apples to apples. Sorry, my bad. Thank you for calling me out on that. What you're saying, though, like, that's out of your control if your wife is faithful, so.
Yeah, but why? But so what? It potentially out of your control.
It's like, it's what you want, right? But is that like not gonna necessarily happen or not? I don't really want to argue. Like, I'm not really here to like argue. I was really here to just like be chill. But like,
Well, it's not much of an argument, really. It's not like we're doing blood sport debates here or anything.
yeah,
Just kind of clearing up some bizarre semantics because it was a bizarre answer, and it seemed kind of trollish. Can you at least grant that it would seem to be very trollish if you say, I want a man who makes $1 billion, that seems just slightly absurd. And when you match it on your personality, you don't seem like you're a complete idiot, so it seems perhaps contrived, right?
I mean, it can seem that way to you. My genuine answer was that. That's all. I'll leave it at that, and then you guys can do what you want with that answer.
I think it's okay to have high standards, especially because you're beautiful and like, you know, you do OF, you have a lot of money, you're on Temptation Island. So I think it's okay to have high standards.
High standards.
Yeah.
What's the difference between high standards and unreasonable standards?
Well, like, I think there's an exception. Like, if this person has a really good personality and they don't make $1 billion, like, she might go for him.
No.
But it's not like...
She said she won't settle for less, nothing less than a billionaire. So, and she said she values money over personality. Right. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather date a guy who makes like let's say, $90,000 a year and he treats you amazingly, or a guy who's a billionaire, and you got to pick one? A guy who's a billionaire but he's abusive. Which do you pick?
Okay, that's a bit extreme. That's a loaded question, I would say.
If you have to pick one,
Abusive is a
sure, and you
loaded
can choose to
question.
pick the guy who's not abusive. Which
All right,
one do you
He
pick?
treats you like shit. How's that?
How much do I see him? Because billionaires are very busy.
You see, well, I mean, you see him a lot, right? Because I would assume that you would be some sort of trophy for him, or he wouldn't marry you.
There's a lot of factors I think that would go into that question specifically for me to be able to answer that.
Okay, give me some of those.
90,000
factors,
is
and then I'll
pretty
make
good,
them
though.
in. What's that?
I said 90,000 is not bad. For like a guy that treats you well over an abusive person, I
Well,
wouldn't
didn't say
want.
abusive though.
Well, he did.
So I changed the parameter though. He just treats you like shit.
But right, like that. There's so many factors. What do you mean by treats you like shit? Because right, people
He's
have
just not very
different
nice to
standards
you.
for relationships.
He's just not very nice to you,
Is
and he
this,
doesn't really care that much about your opinions.
is this all the time, or is this
It's most of the time.
doesn't care about my opinions?
Most of the time. He
I
doesn't
think
care.
I would still pick the
why would he?
billionaire.
He's a billionaire.
Yeah,
what does he
I think
need for what opinions are you going to give a billionaire that he needs, right?
Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah, what opinions? So,
Women,
I mean,
yeah,
that makes
don't.
sense, right? Well, yeah, I mean, right, what opinion would I give a billionaire that he would care about? Nothing. He wouldn't care about my opinions.
That made me kind of feel sad that you would say that even about yourself.
Yeah, okay, anyway, can you answer my question now?
I did answer your question already.
Yeah, why don't you repeat back my question so that I know you even heard it?
Your question was, would you pick the guy that was making $90,000 and treated you really well, or the billionaire that doesn't treat you as well?
Great, can you give me the answer to that question now?
I said I would still pick the billionaire.
You still pick a billionaire, okay. So I don't think you're trolling. I mean, maybe you're just a reprehensible person. That could be possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting how that works. Thank you, Earthworm.
Earthworm Tim donated $200. No billionaires for a cups. Please kick her off.
Yeah.
I don't think that works though, because he's against plastic surgery. So to say, if I were to fix that problem, I think Brian would actually be very much against that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'm anti-plastic surgery.
So do you like A cups?
Sure.
Checking.
Yeah, A cups, sure. I'm more of a, not really an ass guy, not really a boob guy, more of a labia guy. I only date women with giant labia. So yeah, that's kind of.
How do you spot someone with one in a crowd? Or do you just like
know.
take
There's
them
some-
to
there's
bed
certain
and then you
indicators.
decide like,
There's certain
I was
indicators.
gonna say, is that
there
like
big labia
you
energy?
must have big labia?
I'm
Or do you think that's a little bit unrealistic?
Look, I've noticed patterns. There's some patterns, okay, and you can fucking tell.
Can
and
you
shit.
name the patterns? I'm
Nope.
just curious.
Top secret. That's the secret sauce because I can't be giving it away, and other dudes are gonna steal my
steal
fight.
all
They're
the
gonna be like,
labia
oh, there's that
girls,
girl who meets
Yeah.
this like visible criteria. I'm gonna get because he's like also into big labia, so I can't give away the secret sauce, but there are signs.
You are the labia
But can I
whisperer.
ask you a question
Exactly.
really quick? Just
Nope, you can't ask a question. But anyways, so.
Each to their own, I guess.
Continuing on with the questionnaire, the kick is
Each
probably
to their
imminent,
own.
but we'll see. So, going around the table on this question, what would you want the minimum yearly income to be for your future husband? And Andrew, the answers don't get any better. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say it's like a deal breaker, but I would say like maybe about like $1 million. It doesn't have to be. It could
year.
be less.
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
Sure. What about
Yeah,
you?
no, I said the same thing, but it doesn't really, it's not a deal breaker for me either, but that's what I strive for.
When you say you strive for in terms of your own earnings or like strive for in a man?
A man.
Okay.
so everyone else is good though. That's not unrealistic. you would
It's
say?
pretty unrealistic, but
okay.
you realize like the orders of magnitude difference between billionaire versus millionaire. So, yeah. What about you?
Realistically, probably like 200,000.
Two-
But I mean, I
200,000.
wouldn't mind a millionaire. Call me.
Sure.
Let me know.
Okay.
Personally, it doesn't matter to me what somebody earns. I would choose happiness over being financially
Can I have you
comfortable.
scoot your mic to the edge of the table?
Yeah, yeah,
And just
sure.
leave it there.
Yeah, sure.
And this applies for everybody. Just leave the mics where they are. So, I mean, there's not, like, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids?
Yeah, one day probably get married, maybe have children. I'm not really sure, but I feel like I'm financially stable enough by myself. I don't need someone to look after me like that. So,
I see.
and
But
I think happiness is so much more important. You could date someone that is seriously rich, which I have done in the past, and that doesn't make them a good person. You know, they could be. Every time it's personality. It's nothing to do with their bank account. But that's me. That's my own
Okay.
opinion. Yeah.
So you would date a guy who, like, works at McDonald's or...
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. No, I wouldn't say. Do you know what? Actually, yeah. If in this life I met someone and I really, really loved them and they worked there, then I guess yeah, that would be okay.
Okay. What about you?
I relate with what she said. I think it doesn't necessarily matter as long as they can support themselves and aren't asking me for money or like, you know, and that they're a loving person. I don't know, but
Okay. You did, like, when, and this is for, like, your future husband, right? So I know some of you are young, you guys are, like, in college or whatever. You're probably not particularly preoccupied with, like, oh, is this guy making $100,000? For most people in college, probably not, like, top of the priority list. You're probably more like, are they attractive? Do I get along with them? Do they have a good personality? Do I like them? These sorts of things, right? But when you start getting a bit older and you're like, okay, well, I want to have kids and a family, and here's what do I want to stay home while I'm pregnant? There's going to be certain considerations when it comes to, oh, do you want to stay in Southern California or, you know, wherever you're from? Do you want to have a certain lifestyle? Do you want to go on vacations? Your husband's income is probably going to have, or whatever, long-term boyfriend is going to have some impact. So if we fast forward like you to like when you guys are 28, 29, maybe you're like looking to, okay, I want to like have kids, start a family. Do you have a sense of like, okay, well, I don't want to date the guy who's working like a part-time job at McDonald's making $20 an hour. Probably want to date a guy who's making like X amount of money. Is there anything that comes to mind for you on that?
I think the best way I would say it is like they have to have this like drive to do good for themselves. you know? Like
Yeah,
they
I can agree with that.
You know, like yeah, that drive is attractive.
Yeah,
I think.
drive.
Like I
definitely.
plan on
Okay.
doing good for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good on my own.
Sure.
If someone comes along and I really like them and they're driven and they like have a good career and they like know what their life wants to look like or they're living the life that they want to live, then like I love that.
Sure.
You know,
Okay.
I don't know if I would date someone at McDonald's just because they could strive for more.
Yeah.
But if they're working at McDonald's saving and like there's a plan, then that's different.
Yeah, I
And what
agree
about
with
what
that.
about you?
I agree.
Does that
I
change?
very much agree with that.
Okay. What about you?
I'd say any income's better than nothing.
Any income is better than nothing. So they make $1,000 a month. That would be satisfactory to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want kids in the future?
Yeah, I do.
You want to get married?
Maybe.
Do you want to? And you live in SoCal. Mm-hmm. Do you want to like? How many kids do you want?
I'd say like max 3.
Max 3. Okay. So maybe 2 to 3. And do you want to remain in Southern California?
Probably not. I definitely want to move.
Do you know where?
No, not yet.
Would it be a low cost of living or high cost of living area?
Probably low cost of
Low
living.
cost of living. Okay. When you do have kids, would you like to take time off from work when you're pregnant and then like afterwards to raise the kids?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. And then what are you wanting? You're like a vet tech, you said?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And are you planning to go to vet school or are you just planning to like remain a vet tech?
I'm probably gonna go for schooling, but I'm not too sure if I really want to stay in the vet industry.
Okay. Do you have a sense? I know you're young. You said 18, right?
Yes.
So like, you have time to figure things out, but do you have a sense of kind of like a potential career trajectory?
No, not yet.
Okay. Do you anticipate, would you like to be the breadwinner in the relationship?
Maybe.
Okay,
Maybe
so you're
not.
making the majority of the money. Okay. Maybe not. Although you want to have kids and take time off for pregnancy and okay. Well, wouldn't there just be certain economic realities like, okay, you want to have 2 to 3 kids, depends on where you live, you want a certain lifestyle, you want to take time off for the pregnancy, you want to take time off from work to, when they're babies or whatever. How do you intend to like pay rent and other expenses?
I'm gonna give it time before having like any kids, so that way I'm able to save
Sure.
my money, just in case like if the relationship doesn't work out and he decides to leave, I'll be able to provide for the kid.
Okay. But I mean, do you think it would be a consideration though when you're dating a guy and you're like, okay, this is the guy I want to like marry and have kids with, but like, this could be like a financially straining situation if he's kind of sitting at home playing video games all day and not working or working like a part-time minimum wage job.
Okay, well then we'll have a talk about that one.
What would the talk entail?
Probably to maybe work a little more. Maybe find a different job if that's not working out.
Okay. What if he doesn't?
Then probably dump him.
Probably dump him. Okay, so there would be some degree of participation in the workforce that you would deem desirable or acceptable when it comes to a guy you're dating. Yeah. Okay. All right. We won't linger too long. Felicity, do you want to answer this, I guess?
150,000.
150,000. Okay, so we got $1 billion here, $1 million a year, $1 million a year. That's your guys' minimum. And then you said 200,000. Those are pretty
Is it
interesting.
100 or 200?
Oh, okay. Well, here in the notes you said 200,000. Maybe you changed it,
Yeah,
but
verbally.
$1 million a year, $200,000 a year. Andrew, do you have any objections to these numbers?
Well, every one of the numbers is it's fairly unrealistic. So if you just break it down, even if you're talking about millionaires, there are actually a significant amount of millionaires in the United States, right? It's around, as of 2023, this is just cursory, right? But somewhere around 20 plus million millionaires. But you have to remember that most of those are based around retirement accounts, like their Roth IRA. They paid into it their whole life, this type of thing. So they're near retirement age. So they have a little bit of cash tied up in nest eggs, right? That's their equity. But people who have like actual, in your age group dating market, who have millions of dollars, which is liquid, It's extremely rare. So it's like, that's unrealistic, right? It's totally unrealistic. That's one. But the second is, even when you get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? It's like the pool of men who's available, again, in that age bracket, who makes $200,000 plus per year, very, very small. Now, Brian actually has a calculator. We can calculate this out. You can see the percentage of men who would be available in a pool who were over 6 foot in your age bracket who made the amount of money that you wanted. And I guarantee you, it'll be a decimal point. It won't even be 1%. Won't even be 1% of the available.
Okay, I got something to say.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My longest relationship, the 3 years, he was a millionaire and he was over 6 foot.
Wait,
So I didn't have-
wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Your 3-year relationship that you had in high school was with a millionaire.
Correct.
You're full of shit. You were not dating a millionaire. How old was he?
He was a little bit older than I was. I'm not gonna.
How much is that? How much is a little bit?
Like 2 or 3 years. It was family money, but he was in it. So.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 problems here, right? The first problem is you ain't married to him. So
No, but it was my longest relationship.
It doesn't actually matter. Millionaires and people have hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars will definitely have sex with women. They'll have sex with plenty of women.
We
They'll
lived
have sex
together
with as many women
and had a dog.
who will have sex with them. In fact, many of them. But the point is whether or not you actually catch the ring, right? The commitment is the key. Do you keep the
Right.
commitment?
Right. So I broke up with him, and we almost got engaged at a certain point. So that's kind of bold for you to say.
Yeah.
I also think just another point, and again, let me clarify before I say anything on this podcast, because today is just, I guess, not my day on here. It is also, no one said anything about an age range. So for you to specifically say, it's not realistic to date anybody in our age range with that amount of money, whoever said there was no age range there.
Oh, okay. So would you date a 95-year-old?
Would I personally?
Yeah.
No.
85. How about 85? Show of hands at the table. 85. Would you date an 85-year-old? 75. 65. 55.
I'm being completely honest, and again, not trolling. There's some fine 65-year-olds.
Okay, so then go ahead and raise your hand for 65. Okay, 55.
There's some real silver foxes.
You would date a 55-year-old.
I mean, if he's the perfect guy and I really like him and I like his personality, my boyfriend's gonna kill me.
Okay, 45.
Probably, yeah. I feel like that's actually more realistic. I didn't know we were going that low.
So I presupposed an age range, and I presupposed an age range based on the hard data which is available to us. The hard data that's available to us shows that most women date within about a few years of their age, up or down. Now, not men. Men they like to date younger if they can, but most can't, so they usually end up dating around their same age range as well. Now, you might wonder why this is, even though there's really attractive, like you said, 45-year-olds, is because meeting people usually happens in a compartmentalized way, like you meet them at work, or you meet them in your social circle, or things like this. So because it's a localized connection, that's how most people tend to meet and date. They're usually going to be within the same age bracket, roughly. That's just usually how that works. So yes, I did presuppose it, but I had a justification for the presupposition. So
That's fair. I just want to bring up that point because I felt like that was being left out. Because you specifically said people our age. That's it. But I agree with you.
I mean, even though if you look at the data, I believe the top 1% of earners, that's 450, maybe it's changed, but at least what it was previously, $450,000 and up. That puts you in the top 1%, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at making, a millionaire, mm-hmm. that's even less. That's a portion of a percentage. I did have one question for you. You didn't raise your hand when he was asking about the age thing. What's the oldest guy you would date?
I'm thinking, I was going to raise it for like 35.
35, okay.
Yeah, but I'm down for maybe 40.
And you're currently in a relationship, correct?
Correct.
Does he make $200,000 a year?
He's going to school for a really good career.
What is he studying?
He told me not to talk about him, so I'm not going to talk about him.
Well, I think you could probably just say I don't think revealing his field of study is going to reveal anything about him, but
It's okay.
So he's going to be okay. That's fine.
But we will end up making around the same amount of money. And
I mean, a lot of people go to college thinking they're going to be a big rock star, and then they're working at Starbucks, but that's fine.
Not the industry he's in, but okay.
Well, you're not revealing which one it is, so I can't say, but I'll just take your word for it.
Thank you.
And I guess my final question on this, $1 billion, $1 million, 200,000. You mentioned want, right? I want to ask a different question.
Okay.
Sure, you can want it. Do you think you will get it?
That's not up to me.
Do you, well, make
That's
a
up to the
prediction?
universe. I think it's very possible.
Sure, I agree with you. It's possible. Is it probable?
Probable. I'd give it. I'm not gonna give it a number. I think it could be. It could be.
Yeah, I get that it's possible. Is it probable?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay. Do you think you're going to get the guy who makes $1 million a year?
I do. Manifestation.
The manifestation, yeah. Interesting. Okay.
No, me too. That's why I wrote it, because I like to manifest. But I think so
yeah,
because we
to-
work in nightlife, so I feel like we're around
Yeah.
those people,
Yeah, I'm in
and like
that
I see it.
scene.
The
Yeah.
nightlife scene, that's the spot to get the millionaire.
They're
You
there.
you guys doing The Secret? You doing The Secret where you write down the thing that you want and your thoughts go out to the ethos and the universe serves up this thing that you want on a silver platter for you based around your thought pattern recognition. Is that manifesting? Is that how you manifest stuff?
I'm here for it.
Well, I like to speak it into existence, or like write it down.
You can speak things into existence?
You can make your dreams a
can try.
reality.
Yeah.
You can hope so.
Interesting.
Try.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess I almost don't want to wish you guys good luck because it's so ridiculous, but good luck. I guess you're gonna need it if you guys want a millionaire. You definitely need it if you want a billionaire. 200,000. That's still a pretty high.
Okay, she said 150, and we're not coming at her. And I also said either like 1 or 2. You keep on just saying
You
2.
wrote 200,000.
Okay, I wrote it, but I didn't say it.
Yeah.
I changed my mind.
And
I thought
Felicity's
about
been
it.
on the show before, so we've already had the conversation, and yeah, so
I mean, I feel like it's realistic. If you are going,
$200,000 a year.
yeah. I mean, if you are making that amount of money and you surround yourself with people who make that much money, it's
What are you
not-
studying again?
Oh, I'm going to go get my OBGYN. And so eventually, if I work my way up, I could make that amount.
Okay, so you're pre-med, if I
Yeah.
recall, right?
Yeah. Health science pre-med.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're a doctor, you can definitely make $200,000 a year.
So that's kind of where
Well,
I
I
based
will-
mine off of,
I will grant you that $200,000 is more realistic than $1 million a year, $1 million a year, and $1 billion a year. It's
They're
still
really
high,
pretty,
though.
though.
It's still high, but I don't think
you.
it's like super
I mean, looks aren't
unrealistic.
everything, but like if anyone could, I think they could. Look
It's
at
not
them.
so much. I mean, I appreciate that. It's more so like the circles that you're in already. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean that's what I just said.
It's
But I
like-
was saying if anyone could, like
It's
you
like
know,
we
looks
California's expensive.
California's expensive?
Yeah. Like, settling for like a smaller income, I feel like it's going to be hard. Especially like you were saying, I'm not saying settling in a sense, but you're saying like you want to take care of the kids, like, as a mother, and like you want to take these trips and time off and to have like that stable traditional role sometimes. It's
Is that what you want, the stable traditional role?
I mean, like I would want a family and kids, and I want to be there for my kids. And in today's economy, it's really hard, especially my parents, they both had to work, and like I didn't really see them too much when I was younger. So
So you said California is really expensive, but you said the minimum yearly income is $1 million a year. So you 150, or let's even put it at like $500,000 a year. That just,
no, that's okay. I didn't say it
Can't.
had to be like.
the question is, what would you want the minimum yearly income to be for your
Give or
future
take.
husband? $1 million a year.
Like about, yeah. Give
I think
or
the
take.
want in the question is what was throwing the answers and like what you were looking for specifically. Like maybe next time, and this is
So
not.
would you prefer B?
Yeah, what
So
would you-
What would
What is
be
the minimum?
What would
Yeah.
be the minimum yearly
Yeah.
income to be for your future
Yeah.
husband?
The wording I think is what threw some people.
Interesting how that works. So what would your answer to, if we replace want with what would be the minimum yearly income to be for your
looks good.
future husband? Does it change?
Yeah, because I said in general, billionaire, right? But yeah.
That's great.
Okay, so what does it change to?
I'd say like $500,000 a year.
Boy, that's a really, really big jump from $1 billion to half of $1 million. Just pointing that out. It's a really big jump.
You're saying what would I want it to be specifically, not what I want.
What about for you?
Like what I want it to be, like we're doing a realistic thing, because that was my answer.
What would be the minimum yearly income?
I guess like $500,000.
Okay, 500,000.
I feel like I don't value money like as my qualities of men that or top 3 qualities I want in a man. So I don't know, just anyone who can like provide for me, like give me what I want.
Yeah, there's millionaires who don't make
I know
close
that's
to
true.
$1 million a year, like
is very
350,000 or whatever, and they're
Yeah,
millionaires.
that was what I was getting at with my answer.
We have a super chat here from Steve the Crow. He says,